भारती न्यूज, सीधा, सटीक और निष्पक्ष।
Good evening, dear viewers, and welcome back to Logical Guru, the show where we simplify complex legal cases and unravel the most gripping courtroom dramas from across the country and beyond. Tonight, we are driving into a major development that could reshape India's social and political landscape. The government's decision to include caste data in the upcoming national census. For the first time since 1931, the Indian government will officially count all the castes, not just scheduled castes and tribes. This is a historical move and a controversial one. The question is, will this data lead to inclusion or division? Let's break it down. What does this mean? Why it question is, will this data lead to inclusion or division? Let's break it down. What does this mean? Why it matters and how it could change the way India governs its people? First, why haven't we had caste data for nearly a century? After independence, the government decided not to collect detailed caste information. The aim was to promote national unity and avoid political complications. But in reality, caste never stopped influencing access to education, jobs, healthcare, and even justice. Only scheduled castes and scheduled tribes have been officially counted, leaving out the data on OBC and upper caste. That's surprising, considering how central caste has remained in both politics and policy making. Now, after decades of debate, the center has decided to include caste in the next national census. So, what does this decision involve? During the upcoming census, enumerators will ask people to voluntarily state their caste. This will help build a national database covering all castes, not just SC and ST. The government says this data will help to improve welfare schemes, policy planning, and social justice delivery. They are framing it as a move for accurate targeting and better inclusion, not a political maneuver. Still, the decision has sparked intense debate across political circles, social media, and civil society. Supporters argue that real data is essential for real policy. For instance, our reservation system is based on data that is almost a century old. We don't even know the current percentage of the population that is OBC or how various castes are performing in the terms of education or income. That leads to unfairness, and some communities may be underrepresented in the jobs or welfare schemes. But without data, we can't address it. A caste based census could finally give us a clear picture of these inequalities, but critics warn it could backfire. They fear the data might be used to divide voters or accelerate identify policies. There are concerns it could lead to more demands for reservations or fewer new caste-based political movements. The big fear is, will this data be used to uplift or to manipulate? It's a fair question, but without data, we are just guessing. And guessing has led to half-backed policies for far too long. Now, why does caste matter for everyday governance? Take education. If we knew which castes had the highest dropout rates, we could better target scholarships. In public health, if certain communities have less access to hospitals or sanitation policies, could directly address those gaps. Even schemes like rural jobs or food subsidies could be made fairer with more accurate social data. India is a welfare state. We have a duty to ensure that public resources go to those who need them the most. But without current caste data, we are making policies in the dark. That said, the move isn't risk-free. One major concern is data privacy. Citizens may worry their caste data could be misused politically or socially. There is also the challenge of how this data will be stored, protected, and whether it will remain anonymous. And let's not forget accuracy. What happens if people refuse to share their caste, or if the data is misreported? Will the final numbers still be reliable? The government claims that caste disclosure will voluntarily and that enumerators will receive special training. But clearly, the success of this exercise depends on how sensitively and securely it is handled. Interestingly, some states are already ahead. Bihar conducted its own caste survey in 2023 and the results had a major political impact. They influenced budget allocations, welfare schemes, and even campaign promises. It showed that caste data can drive policy change for a better or worse. States like Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra have also backed similar surveys. The center is now formalizing what states were already experimenting with. There is also the ongoing debate, caste versus class. Some argue we should focus on income or poverty and not caste. But in India, caste and class are often tightly linked. Lower castes are more likely to be poor, landless, and excluded from elite institutions. Meanwhile, upper classes continue to dominate top roles in the education, governance, and industry. So, it's not an either or issue to fight poverty in India. You need to understand caste too. That's why this data isn't just about identify, it's about inequality, access, and fairness. So, what's next? The census is expected to begin in early 2026. Preparations and training are already underway. The real challenge will be execution and ensuring the process is respectful, accurate, and secure. And the bigger question, what will India do with this data? Will it lead to more fairness and representation or deepen existing divides? That depends on how seriously we treat it and how responsibly we use it. One thing is clear, counting caste may be uncomfortable, but ignoring it hasn't worked either. And a new chapter is beginning, one where data meets democracy. That's it for today's episode of Logical Guru. We will continue to track this involving legal and social saga. Join us next time as we explore another real life courtroom drama that shaped the laws we live by. Until then, stay aware, stay empowered, and remember every law has a story.